Accenture just fired 11,000 employees. Why? Inability to retrain and retool into AI systems. Guys, this is happening all over the place. If you're not finding ways to use AI in your business and in your job, you might not have a job pretty soon. You were covering it day after day after day, 6 days a week, story after story about AI replacing jobs. It's time to wake up. This is real. But don't just take my word for it. Listen to what Accenture CEO Julie Sweet says. She says, advanced AI is a part of everything we do, that all employees must retrain and retool. And get this, she and the company are exiting on a compression timeline, people for whom reskilling isn't a viable path. And look, they've been successful up to this point. They've reskilled 550,000 workers over the last couple of years. But the reality is, not everyone can get retrained and retooled. Who are these people? Who are the people that are falling through the cracks? Today, we're gonna cover who these people are, how you can avoid being one of these people that gets left out of the AI revolution. Because don't get it twisted, the opportunity for success is going to be massive, and it is massive. But there are certain things that I think need to be addressed in order for you to be part of that new economy. We're gonna cover that in today's video. If that's interesting to you, thanks for liking and subscribing to the channel. But what's interesting is they are going ahead, Accenture is going ahead and firing people despite seeing massive year-over-year growth. They reported a 7% year-over-year growth this past quarter. So they're growing and they're becoming more efficient, and they're firing people that aren't picking up the new skills that are necessary. In fact, they expect to save $1 billion through this process of business optimization, which essentially is implementing AI and replace those who can't integrate. Guys, they've paid over this is crazy. They've paid over $615 million in severance just this quarter, but they're not done. They expect to pay another $250 million in severance this next quarter. So despite them continuously firing, they're not done. They're gonna keep going. And please believe that other consulting firms, other companies are gonna be following suit. I don't see how you can't say the writing is on the wall. And I know guys on the channel like to say things like, well, AI is not real. They're just hiring Indians and it's just to increase their stock or their exit. And that's fine. But you're putting a big gamble on that, because every company is doing this. All the big companies are doing this. Just watch the backlog of videos, dozens and dozens of videos covering this. And maybe they're all wrong. Maybe. I'm skeptical. I think they're finding ways to make it happen, and they're forcing it through, because the reality, and we talked about this before, humans are expensive, humans are complicated. We have social dynamics, we get sick, we are stubborn, we don't listen to each other. We wake up with bad hair days and get angry at customers. Like, this type of stuff happens. It doesn't happen with AI the same way. AI is not perfect, but the robots don't have these same types of problems. Humans are so complicated. Do any of you out there, by the way, do any of you out there manage or lead humans? It's pretty tough, no? It's pretty tough. What do you think? Do you think it's easier to manage a bot on your computer, or is it easier to manage Stacy from the other office? Leave it in the comments. I'd like to hear. So let's kind of move on to the next phase of the video here. Who is winning and who is losing in this new AI world, specifically at Accenture? Well, Accenture is really focused on the retraining areas of AI engineering, data science, cloud computing, automation, kind of some tough stuff to actually retrain for. However, they are putting a big emphasis on retraining their existing consultants and creating these kind of like hybrid positions where you're still kind of doing your legacy type of work, but you're leveraging AI to become more effective and more efficient. And by the way, I'm gonna talk about that at the end of today's video as well. Trading time for money, because that's been a big topic of conversation on the channel the last few days. So yeah, AI, consultancy, hybridization, if you're not picking it up, if you're not retraining, if you're not reskilling, you're basically getting kicked out the door. They are not gonna stop. The big losers here are the staff that's focused on legacy systems. They're slow to adapt. What's also interesting is one of the trends that we've been seeing in industries is that companies are not hiring entry-level employees. I posted a video on this, that college graduates are just not able to find jobs. And I mean, this is pretty prolific. It's happening all over the place. People are just not hiring your entry-level positions because, you know, they have book smarts, but they don't have street smarts. Well, with AI, you have plenty of book smarts. You just combine that with the people that have more wisdom and experience. So companies aren't hiring at the bottom rung of the corporate ladder. What's interesting though with Accenture is it looks like more mid-level roles are being disposed of, okay? Because they're not junior enough that they're able to kind of reskill, and the company's like, do we really want to invest with Jim? He's 55, like he's kind of on his way out. Do we really want to invest in him? No, they'd probably rather invest in James, who's 25 and hungry, right? Or maybe you're not senior enough to lead the AI initiative. So you're kind of like stuck in this middle management position. And I would estimate that a lot of these people that are getting the can is because of those reasons, but also they're expensive. Your middle managers are going to be expensive. So they're expensive, they're not reskilling, and they're not leading the AI charge. Where do you actually sit in an organization? Like, it's clear if you go to Accenture's website, like they are AI first, baby. They are AI first. So if you're not AI first, you're not a cultural fit. You know, if you're the guy in the back of the class when there's an AI implementation meeting and you're like blowing bubbles in the back of the class and you're just not having fun, you're not interested, you're kind of checked out, why would they keep you around? The answer is they're not. They're not going to keep you around. They're not going to keep you around. It is clear to me that those that learn and use AI are going to remain relevant, and those that refuse to learn and use AI are not. That doesn't mean there's no place for you, but whatever you're working on now is going to be different. Like you might, and you know, not even to get, you know, there is this ultimate idea that, well, robots are going to be able to perform all the manual labor tasks. And yeah, I mean, that is definitely a possibility. I still think we're a little ways off from that, but what's happening now for sure is AI is replacing workers. It's definitely possible that robots will come for every single job. Humanoid robots are pretty insane. We'll record some videos. Figure is just releasing their new model, which is crazy. Once that comes out, I'll cover that. But regardless, you know, it's hard to predict the future. It's hard to predict the future. It's very difficult for us to predict 10 years out. But what we can do is we can look 1 year out and say, yeah, AI and automation and the amount of the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs that are being displaced already, I don't want to be one of them. Our families need us, right? Your kids need you. You need to be able to wake up and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I still matter. What I do is still important. It's still relevant. And by the way, you might look at yourself, and if you are one of those guys that look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I don't know if what I do still matters. I don't know if what I do is still relevant. This is what I would suggest. There are a few prescriptions to that problem. Actually, I'll get to that in just a moment. First, I do want to cover the concept of the 32-hour work week, okay? Because this is also kind of relevant to this conversation, and it's come up a lot in the comments the past few days. The Senate has kind of proposed this bill. Bernie Sanders in the Senate proposed this bill to kind of address the AI takeover, and one of his proposed solutions was a 32-hour work week. I'll post a link to the video here. I think it's interesting. I think you'll like that. But in that idea, a lot of people are like, yeah, the 40-hour work week is arbitrary, and a 32-hour work week would be better, we'd be more effective. And you know, listen, here's my stance on it. I want to address it real quick and I think this plays a part into like how we as men actually play a relevant role in today's society, an AI-driven society, because it's different. Don't get it twisted. The next 100 years are going to be very, very, very different than the last 100. Would you agree with that? If you agree with that, put it in the comments below. But I think it's going to be very different. We're not in the industrial age anymore. We're in the digital age. The digital age is very, very different, okay? So let me just address this idea of the 32-hour work week, okay? So here's the deal. we want to be men of value, okay? We want to be men of value. And the biggest question I have to ask is, if you're only able to work, or you're only willing to work 32 hours a week, does that make you more or less valuable? Are you more or less valuable than the person that's willing to work 40 or 45 hours a week or 50 hours a week? Are you more or less valuable? Okay. The second thing that I think we want to look at is this idea of salary versus, we'll call it fee. Fee is more of like a commission-based, results-based approach to compensation, okay? Ask yourself this, are you results-based? Are you compensated based on results? Or are you compensated based on clocking in and clocking out? Okay, and I disagree that working less makes you more valuable. However, I do also agree that if you can get more done in 32 hours than you could in 40 hours, well, there is something to look at. I was interviewing Chris Do, who's a very popular brand strategist, media guy. I interviewed him a couple of years ago. And he made this point at the time. He told me a story about a customer who was kind of upset because he was able to do his rebranding work very quickly, right? So Chris gets this contract, he's doing the rebranding, he's creating all the logos, the design, the ads, all this stuff. He completes it, and Chris is like, I work fast. He works fast, he knocks it out. He and his team, they do great work. His company is The Future, and his design company is Blind. Anyway, he does all the design work, beautiful. Presents it to the customer's like, well, you did that so fast, I don't even think I should be paying you as much as I'm paying you. It didn't take you that long. And he goes, oh, okay, well, if I sent it to you in a couple of weeks, would you be willing to pay me more then? And the customer's like, well, no. He's like, exactly. Speed kills, boys. Speed kills. That's the reason why Usain Bolt, that's why you know the name Usain Bolt, because speed kills. And so the point I'm trying to make here is, if your argument is that you can get done, you can be more efficient within 32 hours than you could in 40 hours, then that is a mindset that I can get behind. If your mindset is, well, 40 hours is arbitrary and I don't want to work that long because I get tired, that's a different mindset. And I don't think that that is the right mindset to have. If the mindset is, I'm hyper effective, I get stuff done, I'm the freaking man, get out of my way, pay me what you owe me, that's a different mentality. And that's a mentality I can't get behind. So I just wanted to kind of compare and contrast the mindset of the 32-hour work week, okay? And again, I know I'm kind of getting into some different things, but part of what I want to do on the channel is engage with you guys. You guys leave comments, you watch the videos, I want to address the ideas and sometimes absorb them. So that's the idea there. So again, kind of completing this idea on what it's going to take to remain relevant in this new age. Kind of talked about the 32-hour week, the 32-hour work week mentality, but I want to just also clarify like how I'm addressing this, because I'm just like you. I'm on the chopping block here too, okay? But how am I approaching this digital age? First off is multiple streams of income. I don't want to be 100% reliant on one stream of income, okay? Multiple streams of income. And I have about 4 or 5 different streams of income coming in now. And if one of them drops, if I have one stream of income, I'm the CMO for a SaaS company. If that cuts off, I won't like it, but then I can move those 30 hours a week that I'm 30, 40 hours a week that I'm doing there into something else, and I can replace that income. I already have the infrastructure set up, you know what I'm saying? Assets. I want to own assets. I don't want to own liabilities. I want to own things that accrue value and gain value. Ownership. Low debt. Kill the debt, boys. As fast as you can. The credit card, the automobile, kill the debt. And I know it's tough because your wife wants to go out and get that flashy new $100,000 whip so she can impress Jenny at Carline. I know she wants to do that, but show her this video, guys, because this is not a great time to be taking out debt, okay? Not to mention interest rates are high. Relationships matter a lot, and we want to be doubling down on relationships. Next time you get in the car, maybe instead of watching my video even, although I think you should, maybe instead of watching my video, you call someone that you haven't spoken to in a while and see what they're doing and see how you might be able to help them and vice versa. Relationships matter. By the way, also, one of the reasons I do these videos is because your personal brand matters a lot too. You want to be, it's important that you have a personal brand, that you think out what your brand is going to be, and then you're putting it out there publicly. And then the last and potentially the most important is reskilling. This is not a time to get comfortable. Reskill, upgrade, be thinking about what's next. And if you're concerned about your job, I would encourage you to do this. It's very simple. Pop open ChatGPT, it's a free app. Talk about it a lot. Pop open ChatGPT and just say, hey, is my job at risk? What do you think? This is what I do. And my guess is it will say, hey, there's some parts of your job that are at risk. There's some parts that are on the chopping block, but there's other parts that maybe you should lean into and are being evolved, and don't stop learning. Now's the time to double down on learning. All right, boys, appreciate you watching the video. Catch you in the next one. All right, peace.